There's a lot of yellowtail here, you guys! Oh, I just got bumped. Oh my god, look at him! Ah!
Holy shit! Oh my god!
Hey, what's going on out there, fishing fam? Ray Sharifi here with the Dirty Hookers, and today I'm doing an updated yellowtail arsenal video. Almost a year ago to the day, I uploaded a top 5 ways to catch yellowtail, and I went over some of the rods that I used in that video along with all the tackle that I would use along with it. This video is going to be just strictly rods. I'm going to go over some of the rods that you may have seen in past videos along with some of the newer ones that you haven't seen yet. Some of them's a new style of fishing, some of them's just going to be a new one to add to the arsenal. So I'm going to go over my updated arsenal video, and these are all the rods that I would be taking in future yellowtail trips, whether it's Coronado Islands, local islands, or into Baja fishing, Sea of Cortez, or Cedros Island. These are all the rods that I'm going to be bringing and you're going to be seeing in this year's future videos. All the rods that I'm going to go over in this video are going to be Phoenix rods, and I'll have each one of them linked in the description below. Starting things off, we're going to go over my Flyline setup. Now, when it comes to catching yellowtail, Flyline is going to be your best odds, especially if you've never caught a yellowtail before and you're just looking for that first bite ever. I want to do a future how to Flyline video here to come soon. You guys will see that, so stay tuned. But just your basic Flyline setup, anyone can do it, and it's going to be your best odds at catching a yellowtail. So my preferred Flyline setup is going to be a Black Diamond 8.6. and this is the heavy model. It's rated 20 to 50 pounds. So when you hear line rating, you gotta go basically in the middle. So this is gonna be your 30, 35-ish pound stick, which is perfect because I love to fly line with 25 to 35 pound test. And I have this rod paired up with a Shimano Torium 16. I do have braid backing on here, and I leave enough room for about 80 to 100 yards of 30 pound monofilament. And from there, I run about a 4 to 6 foot fluorocarbon leader. I'll usually be running 25 pound or 30 pound Opsin fluorocarbon. If you guys want to try out some Opsin fluorocarbon, I'll have it linked in the description below. Use code Dirty Hookers to get 15% off your total purchase. They make any sizes from 6 pound all the way up to 130 pounds. So if you want to fish for trout, bluegill, or even big bluefin and anything in between, they have enough line sizes to cover anything that you want to do. The reason why I run it that long, even though you really only need to get away with 3 feet of fluorocarbon, after each and every fish that you catch on very light line, if you're fishing 25 pound leader, you're going to want to cut that hook, retie it, just in case anything goes wrong. You want to get rid of those nicks. Check your line every single time you catch a fish. And the more you cut that hook and retie, that leader is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Even though you do have to do a lot of cutting and retying, at least I'm not going to have to retie my whole leader, which is what you would have to do if you did a 3 foot leader. So I go 4 to 6 foot. That gives me a little bit of wiggle room in case I do have to cut and retie. And I usually go matching fluorocarbon to, again, within that 5 pound range. So if I'm running 30 pound test, I'm either going to be running a 25 or 30 pound fluorocarbon leader. I'm connecting that to a 1/0 or 2/0 live bait hook. And that's going to be your Flyline setup. Alright, the next setup I'm going to go over is my YoYo setup. What I use for that is a more stout rod. This is a 7 foot Black Diamond, extra heavy, rated 30 to 80 pound. So 30 to 80 pound, mid would be 50, 60 pounds. So this is going to be your 50 to 60 pound stick. Shorter, more stout rod, just to give yourself a little more extra leverage against those fish and have a little bit more backbone. And the other reason why we run more short and stout rods, because yo-yos do usually trigger some of the bigger bites. When a lot of yellowtail are schooled up and they're all primarily around the same size, when you see some of those bigger fish come up, it's usually going to be on a yo-yo. That vertical reaction bite and deeper down low usually triggers some of those bigger bites for sure. So we want a shorter, more stout rod, heavy line to be prepared for if one of those bigger ones want to bite. And you're going to be pairing that with a more fast reel. In this case, I have a Torium 16 HG. Usually I would do a Trinidad 20A. And how I have this reel set up is I'm going to be running about 50 to 80 yards of monofilament. So it doesn't have to be nearly as long as the Flyline, but you still want a decently long top shot. If you hook one of those bigger models, you're going to want a little bit of stretch, a little bit of give to be able to absorb those head shakes and to help with the first initial bite as well. So we're running about 50 to 80 yards of monofilament, and that goes straight to your jig. And when it comes to yo-yo fishing, I really like full-size jigs, Tatty 4.0s, Salas 7X heavies. That's gonna be kind of my go-tos. Those full-size jigs are gonna help it get down into the zone faster, help you work a column a little bit better, and help that line come up a little more vertical. You can also cast it out and bring it up at an angle, which is also a pretty effective way. If you're new to it, try to focus on the vertical stuff. It's gonna be a little bit easier to do. The yo-yo is a very exhausting technique. If you've never done it before, I'm gonna warn you now. However, it's a lot of fun. When you wind into them, it's like hitting a brick wall. You're cranking at full speed, and all of a sudden you just get stopped, and it feels like you just set the hook into a brick wall, and all of a sudden that brick wall starts taking line. Really fun technique, and definitely triggers some of those bigger bites as well. So that's gonna be your yo-yo setup. All right, moving on to something very new for me. This year, I'm gonna be getting into jigging. For those of you who have been keeping up with Southern California's fishery over the last 2 years, you may have noticed that speed jigging, vertical jigging, and slow pitch jigging is starting to be a pretty effective tool in our fishery lately. Whether it's tuna or yellowtail, it's very, very effective. So that's something that I'm gonna be trying to get into this year. So since this is totally new to me, I'm gonna be telling you what I have been told by other people that have been doing this for a while. If you have any other tips and tricks, please leave it down in the comments below because I don't wanna be giving any kind of false information. What I have here is the Phoenix Megalodon 607, and the rating for jigging rods is actually rated by the weight of the jig you have to use. For example, this one is rated 200 to 300 gram jigs. So it's very unique. It's not rated by line size, it's rated by jig size. And what I have that paired with is about Trinidad 20A on there. And you're gonna be running still a sizable top shot, but it is shorter than the two previous that I just went over. 25 to 40 yards of 40 to 60 pounds of monofilament on that. And the reason why we still run a sizable top shot is for that first initial bite and to absorb some of those head shakes. And that's going mono straight to the jig. No fluoro leader in between, just mono straight to the jig. I would like to go over some of the jigs that I would use on this rod, but again, this is totally new fishing to me, so I don't have very many. What I have right here is a Daiwa SK jig. This one is a 200 gram jig, so it's perfect for this rod. I'm gonna have to get some more speed jigging vertical jigs here soon. That's all I'm gonna currently go over with this setup because again, since it is super new to me, I don't wanna give any kind of false information. And I've actually already been talking to one of the guys over at Phoenix, so hopefully put together a future video on like what he would recommend you bring for a speed jigging setup, how to use it, and how he recommends fishing them for yellowtail. So hopefully we'll be seeing that in a future video to come soon for yellowtail and for tuna speed jigging as well. Even slow pitch jigging and everything in between. But until then, that's all I'm gonna say about this setup because it is too new to me for me to go more into detail about it. All right, next I think is what everyone's gonna be most excited for, and that's gonna be my surface iron setups. Surface iron fishing has come a long way over the last couple years, especially since I've been getting into it as well. And over those years, it has definitely become my all-time favorite style of fishing. The visual style of fishing, casting at boils and everything like that, it just never gets old. I can do it a million times over, and it's like I'm doing it for the first time every single time. Now this very setup you guys have come quite familiar with. I've been using it for the last 2 years. And what I have here is the Phoenix Axis 1009 HJ, 10-foot rod rated 30 to 60 pound. And what I have that paired up with is a Daiwa Saltis Black Gold. I run about 80 to 100 yards of top shot. And that's for 2 reasons. One is so that I never cast through that connection knot. I never have to deal with that connection knot going in and out of the guides. And 2, so that I have a good amount of stretch when I come tight with a fish while I'm wind into it, let that stretch really bury that hook in its mouth. The line size that I usually run, it depends on where I'm fishing. If I'm fishing any of the more local islands that's easily full day accessible, I'll be running 40-pound monofilament. I use Izerline XXX, smoke or clear. I really don't care about the color. However, if I'm fishing an overnight island like San Clemente Island or Santa Barbara Island, or going down anywhere in Baja, I'm going to be running 50-pound monofilament, again in Izer XXX. And the reason why I would be running strictly 50-pound for one of those locations is because at any of those places, you have a true shot at a trophy yellowtail at any moment of the day. So if I'm anywhere out there, I'm running 50 pounds strictly, but anywhere else, Coronado Islands, Channel Islands, Catalina Island, any of the local full day trips areas, I'm gonna be running 40 pounds. And that's gonna go straight to your jig. This rod's pretty good at casting pretty much anything that you want, small or large. It's gonna get the job done pretty nicely. And again, this is a 10-foot rod. This is more of my fun stick for schoolie sized fish, anything from 7 pounds all the way up to 25 pounds. I do really like this rod a lot. All right, lastly is gonna be another new rod. This is gonna be my new heavy jig stick. Currently, the guides are not actually wrapped on, they're just taped on as a mock-up. Eric over at Eric's Tackle is teaching me how to wrap rods at the moment, and this is one of the ones that are in the makings right now. This is a Axis 909HJ, so this is a 9-foot heavy rod. It's rated 30 to 80 pound, and in between mark, this is gonna be my 50 to 60 pound jig stick. So this is gonna do one of two things for me. One, if those schoolie sized fish, 7 to 15 pounders are really fired up, and I wanna catch a couple of them in the time frame that somebody might only be able to catch 1 or 2. When the fish are fired up and you have that short little window, I might be able to catch 1 more fish more than the average person. So I'll be able to fight those fish, bounce them if needed, and then go ahead, hurry up, unhook, and recast back out there. Or if I'm in Baja and I'm fishing around structure, or the fish are a little bit bigger at the time frame, or we're near a lot of kelp or something, I'm gonna be wanting to fish this 9-foot rod to have a little bit more leverage, a lot more backbone, and to be able to pull those bigger fish out of that area before they get me down into the rod. So this is gonna be my heavy jig stick. And I'll be having that paired up with my Daiwa Saltiga 35HA, and I'm running again about 80 to 100 yards of 50-pound monofilament. And that's gonna go straight to the jig. Right now I have a steel bait tied on. Those 1.8 to 2+ ounce jigs is what I'm gonna be casting on this surface iron stick. So I'll also be throwing stuff like Taddy Starman 112, Salas 7X's, Taddy 14A, stuff like that. Full-size jigs, heavier jigs, focusing on getting those bigger bites. And I am very excited to fish this rod. I can't wait for it to be all finished, wrapped up, and nice and pretty, and get the first cast on it. I'm really excited to fish it, along with other new stuff, and just to get out there in general this season. Again, if you guys want to see another video where I go a little bit more over the lures that I use and why I use those lures in what situations, or what kind of tackle I bring in general, I'll leave that linked right here along with in the description below. That's where you're going to see more of me breaking down some of the stuff that I really like to cast out, but in this video specifically, it's just based on the Arsenal video. With that being said, Bart Haul is tomorrow, so that's why I really wanted to get this video out today. So Bart Haul is tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow along with some of my other fellow Dirty Hooker buddies if you guys want to meet us in person. And then other than tomorrow, which is Wednesday, I will also be working at the Phoenix booth from Friday to Sunday as well. So if you guys don't get to come in on the very first day, I'll be there throughout the weekend at the Phoenix booth if you want to stop by, say what's up. So I always love meeting my viewers. I'm really excited to meet you all at Bart Haul, and I'm also super excited for this season to kick off any day now. As soon as these storms are completely done, weather starts settling down, weather starts getting warmed up a little bit more, we should start seeing some more action. I'm really hoping 2023 is going to be a really good season. I got a couple really big trips planned out that I'm really excited for. And I also got another big announcement to drop here soon. You guys will see in the very new future. With that being said, I think we covered everything. If you guys have any other questions, please leave it in the comments down below. And I think that's going to do it. Thank you all for watching this episode. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't already. And I'll see you all next time.